Hey team, welcome in Hermitarius. Get ready with me while I update my transit calendar. So, the order that I put my planets doesn't make any sense. It's just how I started doing it, and now when I do it any differently, I don't understand what's happening. So, I have a current transit chart pulled up on my laptop beside me, and that's what I'm looking at to put to the current zodiacal degree of each planet. I have a shorthand for the days of the week that I learned from my grade 12 English teacher. So R's are Thursdays, A's are Saturdays, U's are Sundays. And I just do the days first because otherwise I get very confused and I have to start over. So I'll do the days and then I'll go through with the numbers. I'm using AstroSeek for everything. Astro hyphen, which is the horizontal dash, the line that goes across, seek.com. And then a little bit of a astro.com ephemeris and ephemeris. I fucking don't know how to say it. And then at the very end, to kind of like check myself to make sure I got all of the transits I'm looking for, I'll pull up transitviewer.net, which has mundane and natal transits on it. Nobody really has the lunar transits, so those I just have to like figure out on my own, but it's pretty easy. I had to move my cat tree over to put my phone on it. So pretty soon here, the phone's gonna fall because my cat got curious. So now I'm looking at, I Googled lunar calendar or moon calendar, full moon, new moon calendar, whatever you want, AstroSeek. That's what I web searched. And so I pulled up the calendar and now I'm getting the time and the date that moon transits into each new sign, and then I just put like an approximation of the time. So maybe 4 for 4 a.m. Oh, there's my baby. Very excited the tree is here. Very confused why my hands are busy not petting him. Oh, poor baby. So neglected. Just getting some glimpses of my astro wall here. Sorry about the glare. I thought I had set up the angle so there was like minimal glare on the calendar, but you do what you can, you know? My cat is happy next to me purring now that I am not doing things that are not touching him. I am touching him. He's thrilled. So I'm just gonna carry on. Just putting my cat on the top of the tree because he's causing a ruckus. And then he got like right back down. So I color code my calendar where natal transits are in whatever color I've assigned to the planet. And then mundane transits, oh, and that's, I printed off the astro.com ephemeris. I think I got it. You guys. Oh, my baby. Just some fan service for you guys, okay? Everybody loves a cat. If you're wondering how to say ephemeris or ephemeris, if you're saying the name Maris at the end, that is incorrect. So it is not ephemeris, it's ephemeris. Okay, that's my trick. You use it if you like. Anyway, I use the color of the planet for natal transits, and then I'll use the black whiteboard marker for mundane transits and for ingresses. And then I can just kind of glance over and see what's up. So I'm just going through the list. You can see at the bottom of the screen there, the paper taped inside the cover of my journal. I'm just scanning through December, and then I opened up the January table on my laptop because I've got just the first 5 days of January at the end of this calendar. So I'm just going back and forth. It's like a really slow process. But that's okay. I only do it every few weeks. So there I'm drawing a little dashed circle in the sun's color to later draw the Capricorn symbol in black to show that it's a mundane ingress. And then we start hitting all my Capricorn placements. There's 5. I feel like I usually do this much quicker, but I usually am like standing directly in front of the calendar holding my laptop, in which case y'all will not be able to see the calendar. So it's taking me a little bit longer to look back and forth. So I'm just writing under each planet the current location, degree, and if they're retrograde. Sometimes I'll write if they're pre or post shadow or if they're stationing. If somebody's retrograde, they get a squiggly line. So I can just glance over and see, oh, well, we're in retrograde. And then I like to denote the station period for each planet. Mercury usually moves really quickly, and in between those two horizontal lines that I drew around the direct station, he's only moved like a degree in that whole time. A degree to the station, a degree away from the station. So in my opinion, like from Mercury's perspective, he's not moved at all, because in any given day, he usually moves at least a degree. And so what? He's got like a week of feeling like he's not moving at all. I like to map it out like that because often stations are felt kind of for longer than just the day of the station. And that was getting frustrating as I was tracking and like, it's not stationing yet. Why am I feeling like this? So I just kind of expanded what I was working with. And then all of these transits from Mercury, because he's in his retrograde, I've numbered them. So now we're hitting like the third pass of everything. So I've got a little number 3 beside a lot of stuff. Fortune number 3, that kind of thing. And then he's free. And then we finally hit my Mars for the first time, which I wrote at number 3 and then realized, no, he stationed at 22 and I've got Mars at 25. So that didn't happen. And then I'll do a dotted line for the shadow period, which is helpful before the retrograde to realize like, okay, these are all going to get hit again if you have any transits. And afterward, it's not just Mercury conjunct Moon, it's the third pass in like a 5-week time. So I think it's helpful. And then I put in the mundane transits in black. This also lets me see when a day is like loaded up with stuff, both personally and kind of collectively. And so at the end, I kind of mark out days or brackets of time that I think might be heavy or important or like really busy. We'll get there. We'll see at the end. I had originally set this calendar up with like everybody I was pretty cool with on the left, and then everybody I was like really watching and kind of petitioning, like, please be nice to me, over on the right. So I feel like I've got fairly strong Mercury, fairly strong Mars. I don't really mind doing stuff first. I don't really mind leaving stuff. I'm not that active, but I'm quite robust. And I mean, you've been looking at the astro wall, so like Mercury's cool. And then everybody else, I just, please be nicer to me. I beg of you. And so that was the original setup. And I've tried to rearrange in the past, I guess, couple years to like a more common order where I put everybody actually in order. And I don't know what the hell is going on when I look at that calendar. So we're just keeping it the way we're keeping it. The way you personally track isn't anybody else's business, right? The way you interpret your tarot cards is for you, right? Otherwise, why would you be doing it on your own? Otherwise, why would we have the capacity to interpret individually? So like right now, I know those couple days going to be big because Mercury's talking to Saturn for the third time. Mars is talking to my sun for the second time while he's slow as hell. If someone's moving really slow, if they're coming in or out of a station, just like with Mars here, I might write down every time they hit a new degree, a new minute, whatever normal speed is for that planet, to really showcase like we slow. And once you start tracking for a while, you really notice a difference, particularly with Mars, between how slow and how fast he goes when he's going fast. It's wild. I stopped marking down shadow periods for the far planets. Like, I believe Neptune just stationed direct, and so he should have a dotted line all the way down the calendar. But honestly, the far planets move so slowly normally, and they spend, well, not quite half, but like a good chunk of each year retrograde. So it's just kind of part of their normal rhythm, and I find it much more pertinent to really focus on the stations, which are past for all the far planets right now, instead of thinking about being in or out of the shadow period. If you prefer to track shadow periods for the far planets, go for it. I've certainly started doing that, and the calendar was quite busy. I don't know if you can hear my firstborn son wailing in the background. Yeah, I'm talking about my cat. And so here again, I'm just writing down every time Pluto moves into the next 10 degrees, 10-degree chunks. With Neptune, I had done, no, not 10 degrees, 10 minutes, sorry, 10-minute chunks. With Neptune, I had done 5-minute chunks. So every one of those little blue blurbs under the Neptune line he's at 27:10, then 27:15. And Pluto is at 0 degrees 30 minutes, then 0:40, then 0:50. Finally 1 minute, 1:10. Pretty stately, right? This lets me see if someone appears to be speeding up or slowing down, right? Mars is clearly speeding up. As the days go by, the interval between those degree marks gets shorter because he's speeding up. Pluto's at a pretty consistent speed, yeah? Neptune's slightly speeding up out of his station. Happy Venus conjunct Sun to me today. You are seeing how I work with color and information here in my home, Sun 4th house. One thing that really clicked for me when I started doing this calendar is that when you have planets in aspect, they're partile basically, they share or are very similar in degree. It's not like, well, it is sometimes. Sometimes a planet gets transited and the other planet it's aspected to does not. It depends where something is in the chart. There's generally going to be like 2 to 4 places in the chart where one of them is aspected and the other one is blind. So if you're trying to figure out, I've got Venus and Mars partile to my MC, and if I want to figure out what role they each play with that, I can narrow down when one is being aspected but the other isn't, and I can narrow down when everybody's being aspected together. So like I had written Venus conjunct North Node square Pluto, or every time I write down that somebody's with Mars, it's also a trine to the MC. It's like that's one concept. If someone's with Mars, it's trine MC. It's not this and that. It's one idea because they're always going to happen together. I hope that makes sense. My little ingress bubble. Here I am making a mistake, and I am forgetting Lord Jupiter. Oh, Jup Jup. And me writing the square to Jupiter made me realize, oh yeah, I need Jupiter on here. Happen to have this giant towel in my living room because, true to form, I kicked my water bottle over like 3 times and drenched this place. It's gonna be okay. Those little marks are again just me writing down Jupiter's travel. He's in the 15th degree, so when he gets to 15 degrees 0, 14 degrees 0, and then he's retrograde, so he gets the squiggly line. And now I can do Saturn. I've even changed what colors I kind of associate with planets, like working with Mercury a lot. He just wants to be orange working with me. But when I make Mercury orange on this calendar, I am so confused. I just look all over for like, where's Mercury? So even though it's in the same spot, so that's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? You're allowed to not be standardized in your own practice. Whatever works for you. I will put receiving transits in brackets. So I've got that Saturn and Jupiter are receiving a square and opposition from Mercury. So I'll put that in brackets. Just to remember, it's like both are affected. If you don't know the order of transits, it's always faster planet to slower planet, which is why I'll have Mercury oppose Jupiter and square Saturn, but I won't have Jupiter oppose Mercury. I have it in brackets because Mercury is moving faster. He's the one like applying to and making and then leaving that aspect. And Jupiter's just there being like, okay, hi, bye, right? And then we've got Uranus at the end. The nodes and Chiron kind of move too slowly for me to, and I don't have enough room on this calendar to give them their own column. So if there's something like pop in with those, I'll just write them in as I go, unless they're really busy, and then they'll kind of get their own line. Uranus moving real slow, so I just put the end degree at the bottom of the calendar as a reference point in case I'm wanting to know where he's going to end up, since there are no aspects happening, for me to have a good reference point. And now I have opened up transitviewer.net. I like to kind of test and challenge myself with the ephemeris. Nailed it. And then after sometimes I pull up the transit calendar from the monthly uh, podcast, from the astrology podcast, like from their monthly episode. I'll pull up those graphics. But otherwise, I'll use transitviewer.net. So I'm just looking at all the mundane transits to get the ones that I missed. Maybe I didn't highlight them in my book with my printout. Maybe I just missed it. And because I'm looking at the printout of the ephemeris, nailed it, and it's set to UTC and I'm -7, I've got to do some like mental math, like whatever is shown on the ephemeris, that degree that's shown at like midnight on Friday is actually happening at like 5 p.m. on Thursday for me. So a lot of the time, my transits and my aspects are like give or take a day, which I'm okay with because I find it really helpful to move away from the point, the moment, like the second that something's exact in astrology, and instead look at like windows of time. Even like the station for Mercury isn't just one day, it's many days. It's a many day experience. Solstice, like Capricorn season, isn't just the solstice, or northstice, or it's not just the solstice. We then have Capricorn season for the next 30 days as we like deal with it, right? One of my pet peeves is how much hype there is about like what's gonna happen, what's this aspect, and then there's all of this content about it, and then it's over. And that's very frustrating for me because I find much more information can be had by looking back. When you're in it, especially when you're new, you don't even really know what you're looking for. You don't know how the planets show up in your life beyond the theoretical, beyond the technical. So to track, you don't even really know what you're tracking. There's so much going on. There's something always happening. So yeah, I find it much more helpful, especially when you're beginning, to look back, to review your new moon intentions, or like what happened on the new moon a few days later, a week later, instead of trying to get ahead of it, trying to harness the energy, if that's what you're doing, if that's how you're dealing with astrology, before it's existing. Like it takes 8 minutes for sunlight to reach the earth. Why would we anticipate that we know what's going to happen and can like get on top of it before that energy has even reached us? And of course it's all cumulative and everything builds, but if you're always a little bit behind, don't worry, it's fine, you're doing fine. Just going through the final natal transits that I may have missed. And now I believe I'm moving on to void of course moon and out of bounds moon. So the void of course moon is when moon doesn't have any more aspects in the sign that she's in until she moves to the next sign. And then like level 2 is moon doesn't have any aspects within the next 13 degrees of travel, which is about a day, which would be like a lonely day for the moon, just not talking to anybody, not getting any gossip, please. And then the like really serious void of course moon is moon doesn't have any aspects for the next 30 degrees of travel, which would be like an incredibly lonely, very upset moon. I learned all this through Gemini Brett. If you're looking for more astronomy knowledge, check out Gemini Brett. So there's lots of void of course moons, but sometimes they last like 4 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours. I don't really count those. This one that I wrote down from the Tuesday to the Wednesday, it's like 17 hours of void of course moon, over half a day. And then pretty soon here I'm going to get confused and I'm going to write something down and then I'm going to have to delete it, which is very messy on the busy calendar. But I had misread the chart. Just struggling to read the chart right now, team. And deleting. And then we have pretty much a full 24 hours of Void of Course Moon, right at Christmas. Right when the Jupiter-Saturn square is live. So utilize your grounding rituals, I guess. Stay calm. And then there isn't really any other void of course moons that I want to be concerned with because they're like 4 hours, 5 hours long, which is like, that's a nap. I can just nap through that, and I probably will. And so now I believe I'm going to move into writing down the, oh, we've got another little one. Now I'm going to move into out of bounds. So the sun is always where the sun is. It's called the ecliptic. It's the path. It's actually the ring that we are spinning on, orbiting around. But because we're their perspective, we are where we're coming from. It looks like that's the sun's path. And then out of bounds is when a planet is kind of further above or further below that path than the sun could ever get. So we're out of bounds here. And we're above bounds. So if you go out during these few days, in about a week, and you're looking for the moon, like you're gonna look way, way up, right? So right now it's wintertime where I am. The sun is never like high in the sky. It's never above me. It is in the summertime. But right now she's just always kind of like near the horizon. Whereas moon being out of bounds is going to be like in a wildly different space than where I would expect the sun to be. And then down here, I've got an out of bounds but below. So the moon, I believe, is going to be like closer to the horizon than anticipated. Now I'm writing in moon's aspect. Moon is going through all the signs, and so I'm just making sure as I'm going through each sign ingress to write down the mundane aspects in black here. And then I'll go through with the moon color and write down my natal aspects. I do not write down squares and oppositions for the moon because she moves too fast. It would be too busy of a list. However, I do notice that squares to Pluto or Saturn, and sometimes oppositions to those, are kind of like hard times. But I'm always pulling up the current planet's transit chart from AstroSeek anyway, and so like I can track it there, and that's how I have tracked it. That's how I have that information. Because yeah, it's like too busy with the moon, but sometimes I don't want to open up something else. I just want to come look at this calendar, and so I kind of cram it full. So here I'm just kind of scanning the calendar and looking at what might be really impactful sets of days. So it's kind of a combination between mundane transits, that first line. The gibbous moon is hard, man. It's a hard time for me. I am a balsamic baby. Um, so like that's just gonna, I can expect that I'm gonna feel some kind of way then. And then the full moon, and I've got a bunch of aspects happening as well as the Mercury station. Busy month. It kind of looks like it doesn't let up. It's just going to be event after event after eventful time. But there we are. Here is my last month calendar, where you can see that everybody's slow as hell. Slow, slow, slow. And here we are now.